Yo, Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Ha ha ha. Now, to my YouTubers out there, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click it, click it, click it. I love to click it. Oh, yeah. Now, hey, this episode of Wyatt is the latest installment in the series titled Bedtime with Porn Guys. I said Bedtime with Porn Guys. Yeah. And today's special guest is Mr. Tony Cruz. He's this red hot just for fans star. Y'all, he's like that daddy type performer, the guy next door that you would love to ask to borrow like a cup of sugar. You know what I'm saying? Or any other kind of sugar, if you know what I'm talking about. I mean, let me tell you something. Tony can set your loins aflame and ablaze. Oh, yeah. And Mr. Cruz will be pulling up to the mic quick, like in a second. Let's get into it. Wyatt presents the sex god himself, Mr. Tony Cruz. Talk at me. How the hell are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's Pride Month, so
Definitely.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everybody.
It was just Star Wars month too, so I got a little coming out of Star Wars month into Pride.
I like that. Oh man, before I forget, I have to give a shout out to Mr. Tancredo Buff, porn star extraordinaire.
Yes, my good friend.
He's our buddy to both of us, and he connected me with you. And Tancredo, thanks a lot for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tancredo.
Okay. This is the first question that I want to hit you with. Why porn? I mean, you've been in the business for 30 years, right? You started as a sex worker. So what compelled you to get into adult entertainment, Mr. Cruz?
Well, I guess it was just a lot of suppression when I was a kid and never being allowed to act out on, my, sexual desires. And my first interactions with any kind of, sexual content was my dad's porn collection. My dad had a big box of porno mags, and he thought hidden well in the garage, and that was my first look at sex, and it was all straight porn, but of course there's always men in it somewhere. So I started looking at it and kind of fantasizing of being on the female end of it, because that was the closest I could get to all these men want these women and they're having sex with these women. And so that was really my only, I didn't even know gay porn existed back then. So that kind of got me interested in porn. And so when I finally came out and started actually having sex, I went all out. I was such a little slut. I was such a little such a little twinkie slut. Yeah, it happened for me right away. Almost as soon as that light turned on, it's like, oh, I can have sex with guys. So I started doing that in earnest, and then going out and meeting guys on the phone lines. Back before there was apps and websites, you would go on these phone lines and make your little profile, or sometimes it was a party line or whatever. And I was pretty young, and it just eventually led to me, wanting to try being a prostitute and being an escort. So I was an actual, honest to God, like streetwalker in West Hollywood, actually walking up and down Santa Monica Boulevard and hitting the sugar daddy bars and stuff.
Okay, I'm going to really dig into that because, inquiring minds want to know, Mr. Cruz. But before we really get into that, I want to take you back through the corridors of time and find out, where were you born and raised?
All right, I was born in the Los Angeles area, and I was basically raised there. And even though it was it was Los Angeles, it wasn't like the liberal part of Los Angeles. This is East LA, very Mexican, very Catholic, very conservative, and very, very homophobic. Wow. So, I was very scared my whole life. And, I knew I was gay from at least 7 or 8 years old. I knew that I had an attraction to other boys. And that's where I grew up. And one of my very first friends, one of my best friends, was somebody that he came out to me and I came out to him, but it was that way. We were trying to test each other. It's like, we were both like, I think I might be bi. And then, I think maybe I might be bi too. And then it was just like, we're just big old fags. And we had no cars. We would take the bus lines everywhere. And one time he called me up and he goes, "You got to come with me on the bus to someplace." I'm like, "Where? What are you talking about?" He goes, "West Hollywood." I'm like, "What's West? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know
land
anything.
of Oz."
I never really left out. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. He goes, "You got to come. You got to come. It's like, it's really gay. Everything's gay there." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "All the bars are gay and the businesses are gay and there's nothing but gay people there and the billboards are all gay." I'm like, "What?" Like, it didn't sound like real. Like, it just, I thought he was pulling my leg. So, I went with him, and of course, I'm looking around when I got there and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I never even dreamed a place like that existed anywhere. So that's where I started going to the clubs and bars, even though I wasn't old enough to do it. And, that was kind of the beginning of my intro to gay life,
Tony, you were like a kid in a candy store. Pretty much.
Yeah, I was.
Let me take you back a little bit further, because I always like to ask my special guest this question, because it gives our listeners an idea, like a window into how you are. So when you were a little boy, a little nipper, what 3 characteristics or qualities best described you?
I was very shy. I was very, I guess, creative, and also kind of, what's the word? I was like observant.
Okay.
So I was very quiet because I didn't want anyone. I wasn't horribly quiet. I was kind of mostly normal and had a social life, had friends and stuff. But like, I didn't like getting up in front of people. I didn't like being looked at. I didn't like going up to the chalkboard to solve a problem, or when I had spelling bees, I would always be terrified. I didn't want anybody looking at me because I didn't want anybody to realize that I was gay. It's like, the more I speak, and the more people look at me, the more scrutiny I come under.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me say this before I forget, because I'm older now and I become senile at the drop of a hat sometimes. But anyway, I went through a similar situation but with me, it was like, I didn't want to draw attention to myself, but then again, I did. And back in the day, I used to do stand-up comedy. So it was this crazy dichotomy where I didn't want to be seen or heard, but I had this burning desire to be seen and heard. It's really weird. Okay, well, please continue.
Yeah, no, it was really similar with me. I really, I've always loved movies, and ever since I was in grade school, I would, learn all about the behind the scenes special effects of movies like Star Wars. And I was really obsessed with monster movies, the old monster, Frankenstein, Dracula, and the makeup. And I would read all these books about it. And I really felt like I wanted to do movies, but I also felt like I couldn't because, I just might not get there. I didn't want, I didn't want to do the things it took to get there because, again, I might have to be scrutinized. So, I was very shy, but I was very creative. I would write books and short stories and, win book fairs and stuff. And, I was just, I guess, kind of articulate for a kid. And then I was also really observant. Like I was always looking not so much as what to do and what to learn from people, but more to learn what not to do and how not to be, or, how to get around things. Like, like a lot of gay kids, you kind of develop this false, persona, this false version of yourself that you have to kind of keep up. And what do people want to hear from me? What do they expect of me? What I have to listen. I have to make sure I cover this up. Mm-hmm. So I was very observant and very quiet and watching people, and not just in regards to my sexuality, but just, in everything, what are they doing that I don't like? And, I was just sort of just always watching and learning, I guess. So those are probably the main characteristics.
Okay.
Very sensitive.
So
very lonesome.
Yeah. Like I said, I felt similarly. So I totally can understand what you went through. Okay, so now all of this creativity led you into adult entertainment. Now here's the question I want to ask you. You ready for this? Here's the question I want to ask.
Okay.
When you were an escort, what was the craziest, most lascivious thing a client requested?
Well, I was already kind of into older guys anyway, so it was a kind of natural leap to go into escorting because a lot of older guys wanted me. So, so I kind of was open to a lot of stuff, even when the guys weren't that attractive. I was like, yeah, whatever. So this is before I was a proper escort. I was just, I call it street walking. It was street ho. And, later on is when I started advertising in the local magazines and having my beeper go
An
off
entrepreneur.
And, trying to do things.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But I kind of started the hard way, and it was really risky. I can't believe I didn't realize how risky. I knew, but I didn't really care. So one night, this guy picked me up, on the street, and he drove me around West Hollywood for a while, and he goes, and, I'm thinking we're going to mess around, and he's German. And he's got this kind of German accent, which I always think of as kind of being sinister. So he goes, would you like to go to Palm Springs with me? And I said, I guess. I mean, what do you mean? He goes, well, I want to take you out to Palm Springs, and I want to get a hotel room, and I want to get 6, super hung black guys with giant cocks, and I just want them to pound your ass all night and just take turns on you over and over again. And I was like, oh, all right. I mean, I don't know. It kind of self-alarms, but I was kind of going along with it for a while. And he's like, oh, that's perfect. Well, I got to pick up some stuff at my hotel, and we pulled up to the front of his hotel, and he goes, I'll be right back. I got to go run and get some stuff. So I stayed in the car, and it's probably a good thing that I was just sitting there alone for a while, because I was like, I don't know if I should be going to Palm Springs. I don't know who this guy is. And who knows if this is who knows if they're going to say, if they're going to stop if I say no. And I don't know. I started to get a little freaked out. And then I just left. I just got out of the car and took off. I didn't even wait for the guy. I just kind of left. That didn't really happen. It ended up not happening. So I don't know if that really counts, but today, if somebody offered me to take me to Palm Springs and get me gangbanged at a motel all night, I'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem. Nowadays, I wouldn't even blink, but back then, it seemed a little sketch. But the kind of the most unusual actual thing that I've done is years later in my 30s when I was escorting with the advent of the internet, and you had a little more control, you felt a little more safe. And I met a guy. Oh, and in my profile, I would put a lot of my activities and interests. One of them was acting, because I do a little acting. So he wanted to hire me because of that. Because what he wanted to do was he wanted to choke me. And he wanted me to pretend to struggle And he said, I'm just going to put my hand on your throat like this. I'm not going to squeeze. I'm just going to put my hand there. But I want you to look like you're, and then eventually like pass out, and then I'll do stuff to you. And I'm like, all right, we'll give it a shot. I was a little concerned, but he wasn't that intimidating or anything. I felt pretty sure of myself. So I went, and that's what happened. And it went on great. It turned out really good, I guess, for him. I didn't know what I was doing, but I guess I did a good enough job. And I struggled and I passed out, and he went down on me, and I don't know, he just did some really basic stuff. It wasn't even that kinky when he actually got down to it. It was just this prelude of the struggling and the sweating and the passing out. So that was pretty interesting. He hired me again, and we did the same thing again. And this time we went to his home, which was beautiful, this giant home. So nice. I'm like, what do you do for a living? He said, I make these videos of boys choking each other, little twinks choking each other. And it was a website, and there was all these videos you could buy. And, it was these cute little twinks, and they pretend to choke each other or pass out or whatever. And then they do things to each other. And then it turned out that he also actually did kind of low budget horror movies that were sort of homoerotic. Most horror movies are kind of, there's a lot of naked women and chicks with their tits falling out. Or
no, you can do that. That's okay. That's cool.
I forgot no profanity. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. The horror movies weren't explicit or anything, but they just had that little bit of a homoerotic edge to it. Instead of half naked girls, it was kind of like, guys in crop tops and muscle shirts, and it was kind of interesting. And I was like, So all that stuff kind of kind of got all mixed up in my mind, and maybe that put it in my head too, that you can do something sexual. You can do something more than just regular porn.
He was like, before his time, he was like a creator.
Yeah, back then, I still want to do stuff like that. I'd like to go in that route.
Okay.
So those are probably the two weirdest things.
Okay, that's good weird. I like that. Okay, so good weird is better than bad weird. But so when did you stop being an escort, and why?
Well, I don't know if I ever stopped, because I would still do it. I just haven't had to. I have always been in some form of sex business. Starting with being on Santa Monica Boulevard, and then doing the ads, and then there was kind of a lull for most of my 20s where I didn't really do any sex work, but I worked at a bathhouse, like the only bathhouse in Boston, the old Safari Club. I used to work there. So there was always sex somewhere involved. And then when the internet came around, and I was like, oh, this is cool. That was like what I consider my proper escorting career. It wasn't sporadic. It wasn't, walking the streets, or, it was like, the internet changed everything. Yeah. So that's when I was being regular about it. I was making really good money. I was in really great shape. And I wasn't even in my 20s or anything anymore. I was already in my 30s. And I was like, I ain't past my prime. More guys want me than ever. And I ended up being one of the most, one of the best reviewed escorts in Boston. And it was great. I loved it. I never had any bad experiences. Some experiences that I was kind of like, about, but it was all great. And I think I only stopped because I just didn't need the money that much anymore. In my escorting, I had made a really good friend, a mentor, and a benefactor who from that point on just sort of helped me with whatever I need. And plus I was working more and getting more involved in porn production. And then so that kind of overlapped, and, I kind of transitioned from one to the other, from escorting to the porn side of things.
That's the perfect segue, because you are a Just for Fans star. So you are. I like your stuff. We're going to get into a particular clip that I have watched quite a bit. You have to understand that, as a journalist, as a podcaster, and I've told you this before, I've got to do my research, because
you got to know what you're talking about.
Tony, look, I have to know what I'm talking about so that I can give my listeners out there the right experience. And it would just really be insulting to you as a guest if I did not do that. So I have to watch these clips over and over again. And I take notes. I take notes. But anyway, so let's talk about Just for Fans. And I believe you do pause and intergenerational porn. So let's talk about that.
Right. Well, I don't really have that many subscribers, and I don't even have that many videos. Honestly, it's more of a hobby at this point. I don't want to get caught up in all that and people just making content to make content. I like videos. I like when videos, you can tell the people in them have like a real vibe with each other. When you can just tell, like, if the cameras weren't there, these guys would just be doing this anyway. These guys were gonna fuck anyway, and there just happens to be a camera now. And so I kind of like that, watching this and going, it's almost like being a fly on the wall.
Okay.
But when I started out on Xtube, before they started, cutting everything off and getting rid of everything, I had met I was always into older guys when I was younger, and then somewhere along the way, I stopped being a twink. And then, I'm getting older, and then all of a sudden all these younger guys are hitting me up. And I've always liked younger guys too, but now they're really coming after me. So I was like, that's interesting. So I met this younger guy who didn't live so close to me, but we really liked each other. So he made us an Xtube channel for the two of us to post videos of each other on, without our faces or anything. And that's kind of how it started. He kind of lost interest in it, but I kept doing more videos. And then I would meet other young guys who wanted to play, and we would make videos, but our faces were blurred. I wasn't ready for the whole thing yet, It was just for fun, it was just, but even with our faces blurred, people would really like my videos and say and comment that I really like your vibe. It's clear that you're really into each other and that, this is real. And that's with our faces blurred. You know what I mean? They could tell that was coming through, even though they couldn't see our faces. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just started to make more, and I started to think, well, what other of my, little fetishes could I do? I was starting to get more into the daddy boy thing, and that was hot. And then I was like, well, I don't see a lot of pause porn. And I look for pause porn. I like pause porn. There isn't a whole, or at least for most of my life, there hasn't been. And that's why Treasure Island Media and dickwad.com and Hot Desert Nights, those used to be my favorite. Falcon and Bellamy, doesn't do anything for me. But those nasty fucking guys in those videos, that's what I really looked for, because they were just, I just love pause guys. And even when they didn't say that these actors were pause, either kind of assumed, or you could just tell by looking at them. They might have a little facial wasting or lipodystrophy or whatever. And to me, that was hot. I like guys that look like that because they can't hide their status. They're not going to let this virus stop them from being sexual, and to me, it's like a battle scar or something. To me, it says they survived this and they haven't let it stop them. So I like when, guys are just unabashedly pause, So I always wanted to do something like that. So I started to get into it, and I'm undetectable. I don't stealth. I don't actually, try to pause anybody. It's just more of a fantasy. It's just, and it's a fantasy that other people share. And I know that there's a need or a want for that kind of content. But I am pause. There is a little bit of taboo there as well, even though I'm undetectable. But I really, wanted to do that. So that they didn't really come together, those two interests or fetishes. They just sort of came together in my videos. And then it became like, well, I'm with a young guy and I'm pause. And so now we have this crossover, where I, pause daddy, being with a young, non-pause guy. So that's kind of how it started.
Well, Tony, I mean, you have a very healthy sense of yourself, which is excellent. I've interviewed Brian Bonds, who is, publicly positive, and he's doing quite well. What's the market for pause and intergenerational porn? Do you see, there is a healthy market for it? Is it growing, the market expanding?
I don't know. I don't really know what would be considered like a healthy interest, but I know that there are definitely more like intergenerational sites, like Twink Top and Boy for Sale and Mormon Boys and Family Dick or Gay Cest or whatever. Those sites. There's a lot of those now, more than I ever saw when I was a kid or growing up or whatever. I definitely think there's more of that. Because people are coming out earlier and earlier, and they're being more sexually aware earlier. So I think there's definitely more of that. I still don't see a lot of pause porn. Excuse me. Most of it's amateur. I don't know how much. I mean, I don't really see a whole lot of that. I don't see big studios doing that. I see little, like Treasure Island Media and places like that might still do it, but. No, I don't really see a ton of it. So I feel like I want to do more videos like that and kind of fill that, space and fill that market. But I just really haven't been able to. Like I just, there's been a lot of stuff going on, but most of it is that I want to get in a little bit better shape. I've had tendonitis in both my elbows. I haven't been able to work out until last week.
Oh, that's great.
Again. So I'd like thanks. I'd like to get a little more where I was before, and then maybe I'll feel a little more interested in making videos. But also it's kind of hard to find people to make videos with. Surprisingly, where I live, there are quite a few guys that have Just for Fans or OnlyFans. So I'm surprisingly I can find guys to make videos with, but. Especially for a city as small as this one. But it is hard to find guys in general outside of the little group that I know. When I go traveling to New York City or wherever, I put a posting out that I'm looking to make some videos. And sometimes it's just really hard to get guys to commit. Or they do the video and then they say they don't want their face, they don't want it released after all, and I'm like, come on, dude, you're wasting my time, So I don't really pursue it that much. Like I said, I prefer not to just meet somebody for the first time and make a video just for the sake of making content. Sometimes you do. Sometimes it has worked out okay. Most of the time, it doesn't really work out that great. So it's harder for me because I just won't make any kind of video with anybody. It's a little tougher for me to make consistent content.
Understandably. Now, what city are you in, if you don't mind telling us? Oh, you don't have to.
I don't know if I should say.
No, that's okay. Okay, now here's an interesting question I have for you. I always like to ask adult entertainers this. On screen, do you prefer one-on-ones, threesomes, or orgies? Why not? What are your feelings about that? Or does it matter? It might not matter to you.
If it almost doesn't matter. I mean, if it's just two people, if they're really hot, or if it's a situation that's just really wild, and that kind of makes up for there only being two people. But I definitely love orgies. I love gangbangs. I love getting gangbanged. So I love seeing videos like that. I like seeing videos that take place in that were maybe shot in a sex club or something, and it looks like the kind of place I like to go and have sex. I definitely, the more the merrier for me. Especially if they're all for me. But whatever. Any kind of group situation is preferable to me.
And
but sometimes a nice little one-on-one, especially if there's more of a younger, older vibe, if there's more of a daddy boy vibe. Sometimes it's nicer to be with a younger guy, just the two of you, and kind of have your vibe and act out the things that you want to do with each other, and it's a little more intimate, I guess. But once I meet them, once I meet a boy once and we have our nice moment, then I just want to get them gang banged and, you know, take them to the extreme.
Naughty, Mr. Cruz. But I love it.
I know.
Okay.
I love it too, man. Like, I love doing these videos, and I work in porn. I'm a video editor, and I have been for many years now. And well, I started off doing really simple stuff, just doing the logos on videos that were already edited to help somebody out who was in the business already. And then once I became good at that, he started giving me more and more of the process to do until I was doing the whole process. So it was really gradual. And then this friend of mine started getting me work with studios that he worked with. So I've done editing for Sketchy Sex and
Sketchy Sex, okay.
On the Hunt, yeah, Sketchy Sex, On the Hunt, back when that was still a thing, and things like Hung Young Brit,
right,
the British guy. That was a lot of fun. So after doing that for so many years, and you're editing this stuff, I'd never been on a set of a porno before. I was always editing them, but I would see what would happen on set, and I would see all the stuff that gets cut out, and I'd be like, and I would be like, man, I wish they had shot this properly. I wish that if I had been there, I would have said to do this, and because it just makes it so much easier when you're editing later. And these people don't really realize that, but what are you going to do? It's my job. But I was always like, man, I wish I were there. But then I started to see how sometimes things go behind the scenes, and I knew I didn't want to actually be there. I'd be watching all this footage, and some cute guy would be getting fucked, and then all of a sudden just say stop, I can't get fucked anymore. It was like it would be like a straight boy who's just not used to getting fucked that much, and now he's getting gang banged by like 10 giant dicks, and he would just stop and go, I can't do this anymore. I'll suck cock, I'll do anything you want, anything else you want. I just can't take any more dicks up the ass. And then the director would just be barking at him, just like, come on, this is what you get paid for. Come on, you can do it. You love it. Come on. I'd be like, I would not be able to like be on a set like that. I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm okay being on this side of things. But, I would definitely notice what was going on. And I was like, well, I'm going to make my own videos. Just, I now that I have all this editing stuff and I know what to avoid, and, I know what I want to see, I'll just do it myself, and that was the first time. I mean, I've been asked to do porn before, but I've always been really self-conscious. Like, I don't know if they're going to pick bad angles of me, and I don't know if if it's just going to look right, or it's going to be really unflattering or whatever. So then I was like, well, now I can control that.
Very true.
I control the angles, I control the cameras, I control everything, so now I don't have to worry. Now I felt a little better about, being on video and making my own videos. So I took all that stuff I learned from editing and used it to, make the kinds of videos that I wanted to see.
Well, Tony, that makes a lot of sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me anyway, Just for Fans work is more organic. It's not scripted. In a way, to me, it's more like The Guy Next Door, more real.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I don't mind having a dad bod. Like, I don't get upset that I'm not a little muscle twink anymore, but, I embrace that because I like guys like that. I like guys that look sort of not average. I mean, they're hot, but you know what I mean? They're not like chiseled and ripped necessarily. They're just kind of guys that you see on the street. You see a guy at a bar with a fucking hot girl or something, or just walking by himself. You're like, fuck, that guy's fucking hot. He has no idea. Like, he's just a guy, and then so the fantasy to be with somebody like that, or to even just see somebody like that doing something sexual is, now people like that can do that, and people do make money out of doing Just for Fans who aren't necessarily, Falcon Studio material. Anybody. There's this market for everybody.
And you know what, Tony? We need to tutor that guy that you're talking about. Give him some tutorials.
Oh, you mean
the guy that you see in the bar that you were just talking about. We need to pull them aside
yeah.
and do some tutorials and just, show them the ropes, that sort of thing.
I'd love to, man. I love when I get lucky with guys like that. It doesn't happen often, but when I do, it's always really memorable.
Speaking of memorable, like I said, my listeners, I do my research on the people that I have on Wyatt. I want to talk about your recent Just for Fans series called, get this, Hung Play. Now, let me just read it from my card. Okay. This also stars Tancredo Buff, the buffness, Tancredo Buff,
Yep.
and a younger guy, AJ Blue. Okay, so, you got two men of a certain age, which is you and Tancredo, and you've got Mr. Blue, who's somewhat younger, right? He's a youngin'. And so I love the way it was shot. I love the camera angles, very organic. It's pistol hot. You got fucking and you've got sucking, and it's just just like you said before, it's like you are a fly on the wall. Very hot.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I'm going
You
for. Yeah, that was fun. I've done videos with Tancredo before, and we play on our own sometimes as well. And we kind of talk about videos, and he's done more video, like more legitimate, like with an actual studio kind of porn. And then AJ is somebody that I met kind of recently, I guess, in the last year or so. And we have a really good vibe. We get along really well, just as friends, and so we talk a lot as well. And he started his own Just for Fans, and I kind of helped him along with that, and I help him with his editing and stuff. So we talk every now and again about doing more videos of more people, and we decided to get together with the three of us. And I didn't come up with that name. I think AJ did. I can't remember, but originally the idea was that I was going to get fucked by the two of them. But then you get there, you get all together, and things start to happen, and AJ's got such a hot ass, and and I love watching Tancredo fuck, and so we just ended up fucking him, which was great. And and now we I think they want to do a video, just the two of them. I would love to do more videos with the three of us. So yeah, you never know what's gonna happen next. That was a fun video. Every time I work with AJ or Tancredo, it's fun, and they usually end up being some of my more popular videos as well. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, my listeners, let me tell you something. Hung Play by Tony Cruz, co-starring AJ Blue and Tancredo Buff, is hot. You've got to check it out. Now, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you for dropping by. Wyatt, I want you to tell us what you have going on for the rest of 2022 and how we can connect with you and communicate with you.
Well, I'm on Twitter. People can get in touch with me there. They often do. I'm on Just for Fans, but not OnlyFans. So I'm only on Just for Fans. I'm just on Just for Fans. And you're free to hit me up there. I don't always have time to get back to everybody, but I'll usually try to respond in some way. If you have any requests or things that you'd like to see, I'm always open to ideas, and if it's something that strikes me as kind of doable and real for me, then you never know. As for the rest of the year, I don't really know. Honestly, I have a few travel plans. I'll be in Vegas at the end of the month, and then in Los Angeles later in the year. I'll be at Pig Week in November, at the end of November in Fort Lauderdale, which I'm really looking forward to because I haven't gone to the last couple because of COVID. I'm hoping things stay relatively safe till then, because the last time I went to Pig Week was amazing. It was so hot and so fun and it's really memorable. So I'll definitely be there, and hopefully I'll be making some videos there. But I also hope to make some videos here as well. I have a younger boyfriend who's a little camera shy, but I'm kind of, he's done a couple of videos with for my page, but without his face. But we've been exploring some things, and maybe we'll put some of that on video as well. I don't know. I kind of just wait for a good idea to hit, So you never know what's going to happen. I hope to have some videos out.
Well, let me ask you this. I've got more and more straight heterosexual listeners and viewers now. And I really thank you all for that. So I know when they heard you say Pig Week, they're saying something like this. Well, what is Pig Week? What is that? I want to know what Pig Week is. Why doesn't he tell us what Pig Week is? What the hell is Pig Week? Tell us, please.
It's not a farming. It's not an animal husbandry event. It's a week-long sex party or bunch of sex parties in Fort Lauderdale. It's always in Fort Lauderdale, and it's guys come from all over the world to be at these parties. There's multiple events. It's not one event. It's actually multiple dance parties, multiple sex parties, multiple demonstrations, barbecues, beer bus, beach day, pool parties. You just go from one to the other, whichever ones you want, and it's just men, and sex, and really fun guys too. I've made really good friends. I made some good friends over at Pig Week, and just had a nice time. So I like situations and environments like that. It's open, it's sexual, you have sex when you want, you leave off when you feel like it, and everybody's, mostly really nice and really cool because they're all there for the same reasons. So I like those kinds of environments.
And they're manly men.
There's all kinds of guys that go, honestly. It's pretty cool. It's mostly older guys. I think you see a few twinks and stuff there, but yeah, and really uninhibited. Guys will do anything. There's piss parties, fisting parties. There's just everything, leather parties, anything you can think of sexually. It's going on there.
So. My. Well, Mr. Tony Cruz, I want to thank you for dropping by. Wyatt, you must come back.
Wyatt, exclamation point. Yeah, definitely. Anytime you want.
Well, thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me, and thanks to everybody listening, and happy Pride.
So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page on WyattEvans.com, which is the go-to destination for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. And WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. I said, yeah, baby. And WyattEvans.com is where you'll find my smoking hot HAWT, hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels, and the current installment is titled Frenzy! Yeah, Frenzy. And y'all, Frenzy is just like chock full of steamy masculine romance, action, danger, intrigue, and sexiness. I mean, like helping portions of steamy hot erotica. Oh yeah. And then there's the predecessor, Rage, all on WyattEvans.com. And y'all get ready for the next chapter, the next installment in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. It's called Delirium. I said Delirium. It drops later this year. And y'all, look, if you want to be a guest on Wyatt, or you just have comments, email me at wyattonair@gmail.com. And you can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, your host, on Facebook.com/Wyatt O'Brien Evans, on Twitter at Mr. Woe, and on Instagram at Sir.WyattOfficial. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Woof.